everyone. It's me, Miss Hoffman. I'm here to talk about chapters 1 and 2. Please don't worry, I don't have my mask on because I'm the only person in the room right now. I will film all of my lessons either by myself here or at my own home by myself, so please don't fret about that. So the three things that you're going to need today are the chapter 1 notes. You can see that. You're going to need the chapter 2 notes. So I'm going to try to speed through both of these. And then you're going to need the chapter 1 and 2 questions, and that will be your homework. Now, as I said on the Google Classroom, the best way to fill out those questions is either going to be print it out, write it, and then take a picture of it and turn it in, or you can type out a new document and do each, like number 1, and then the answers, number 2, and then the answers, and turn that in. Either way is fine to me. It's just whatever you want to do. So, if you will open your books, please, hopefully you've gotten a book by now. Miss Payton said that they're a little late coming in, so if you haven't bought one, I will send some used ones down to her. What we can do is you can go ahead and pay for it. You can borrow a used one until the new ones come in, and then she'll give you your new one to keep, and you can return the used one to me. Just with everything going on, you know, it's kind of been a little bit delayed, and we've been trying to fix it, but we're doing what we can. So, here's the beat. One of my first caveats that I have to tell you guys is please don't look at me for good examples of public speaking while I'm teaching. I like to be very conversational, very relaxed while I'm teaching because I think it can be counterproductive to be too too put together. It can kind of seem like it's condescending in a way, and I don't want to do that at all. When I'm in class with everyone else, I like it to be more of like a conversation to where everyone can respond to me. And please feel free to ask me questions. I just don't like doing this live because I am a mess whenever I'm in class and I'm running around and I'm writing things on the board, and I didn't necessarily want to have to put someone in charge of following me around the whole time, and me, you know, trying to be loud enough for it to pick up on the video and make sure that you get all of the stories I'm telling. And plus, I didn't want you to have to sit through the whole class because I sort of teach intermittently. I wanted you to be able to just watch a short video and then do your thing. So, I'm doing it asynchronously, and I'll film these every other morning or so and post them for you by the afternoon. Alright, so let's get started on chapter 1. By the way, I'm going to take a lot of water breaks because my throat is not used to talking this much yet, and it's very scratchy right now. So, chapter 1 says, I have to deliver a speech. Public speaking is everywhere. It's something that we're just going to have to do and sort of get used to it. It's everywhere in the world. He gives examples of telephone sales, video conferencing calls, which is incredibly important right now, marketing proposals, and advertising. So all of that, pretty much every job that I can think of, and in the 3 years I've been doing this, I still can't think of one job where you wouldn't have to do public speaking, besides like a mine. That's the only thing I can think of. Because I consider public speaking to be one person or to 100 people. It doesn't really matter, because a job interview to me is still public speaking. Teaching is public speaking. So we need to learn those proper skills, even if it's only one person that we're talking to. Everyone's going to need a job, so you got to get a job interview, and you need to know how to come off as a put-together, very professional person. So we're going to talk a little bit about nervousness in this chapter, because nervousness is something that a lot of people struggle with. In the book, he says, surveys designed to delineate people's greatest fears, in surveys, a dread of public speaking is usually the highest ranking phobia, even higher than death. But it's not going to kill you, but it depresses me that people think that they would rather die than do public speaking. Or if you're going to do public speaking, you'll die, because that's not true. You're going to be A-okay. We're going to talk about some ways that you can overcome that nervousness. It can be stressful, but when you know why these things are happening to you, it can really help you out, and it can help you kind of talk yourself out of feeling that way. So, under understanding your nervousness, there are a bunch of symptoms: cold, sweaty hands, perspiration, shaky knees, muscle tension, shortness of breath, and stomach cramps. We call it speech anxiety or stage fright, those kinds of things. A lot of it is actually going to come from biology. So we have the fight or flight response, and you may have heard of that whenever you study in your science classes. A long, long, long time ago, back whenever we were, cavemen, or whatever you want to call it, we did not have higher level thinking skills. So we had our adrenaline in our bodies to help us make important decisions. Imagine that the giant mammoth is chasing you down right now, and you don't really have the higher thinking to say, okay, I need to duck off to the side, and I need to hide and wait, or I need to try to scare it first. Whatever, your body just knows you've got to get out of there or you're going to die. So it pumps you full of adrenaline. And adrenaline is a chemical that kind of lets your body ignore some physical limits for a while. Think about the stories that you've heard of where a woman gets in a car crash and her baby's in the car and she lifts like the whole car to get her baby out. Her body after that is gonna be wrecked, but at the moment of all of that pressure, the adrenaline is helping her to save her child by helping her kind of ignore her physical limits. So whenever we get this speech anxiety, our body starts pumping us full of adrenaline. Now the third response is freeze, which is what happens a lot nowadays. I definitely have a big freeze response. Anytime I get super scared of something, I just kind of stand there. Or scream. But normally I don't run away, and I definitely don't want to fight it. Think about the horror movies. There are the people that scram as soon as something creepy happens. There are people that'll pick up the lamp and throw it at the bad guy, and then there are the people that'll just go, and sit there. That's me. So you either get one of these three responses. The problem with the adrenaline nowadays is that we are not in immediate danger. Our body thinks we are because we are scared, but it's filling us full of this chemical that's helping us ignore our physical boundaries and giving us tons of energy and things like that, and we're not using it. So you get kind of sick feeling. Your body starts to create like a lot of stomach acid, so you'll get kind of queasy. Maybe you'll have a stomach ache, you get ulcers and things like that, and it can get really bad. You can get gastritis, potentially even ulcers. So relaxation techniques are going to be a huge help, I'm going for the cough drops now, in helping you to overcome all this bad nervousness and this nasty extra adrenaline in your body. So the first one is breathing properly. Breathing is important. If you don't do it, you're going to die. That's my joke. I hope you laughed. Shallow breaths are not good for public speaking because shallow breaths will not fill up your lungs. It's just there to get you an immediate oxygenation. So you think about a runner and how they're running and they're like, and they're breathing very quickly. They just need to get more oxygen into their body so they can keep going. We are not exerting that kind of physical force, so you don't want to take shallow breaths. If you go, hi, my name is Ms. Hoffman, and today I'm going to tell you about public speaking, then you're going to sound like you've been running outside, that you're exhausted. So the technique you want to use is called breathing from the diaphragm. Now, if you don't know what your diaphragm is, it's this kind of like thin piece of muscle that's like right here at the bottom of your stomach. And it's not really used for breathing, but it's kind of a mental thing that you have to think about. So when you go to breathe for your presentation, you shouldn't move your shoulders at all. Stand nice and comfortable. And you just want to breathe in probably through your nose is better. Your mouth can work too. But you want to get a deep breath down all the way into your lungs. So, and then I feel better. My shoulders moved a little bit. It wasn't, but it's not, okay, now I can breathe. So if you notice the way that I speak, I can make a long, long, long sentence and a very, very loud sentence, and it doesn't really bother me. When you get pauses interrupting your speeches because you are breathing too shallow, it can sort of disrupt the flow. So you want to make sure that's why I can't breathe through my nose, by the way. My allergies are killing me. So you want to make sure you're getting those deep enough breaths. One of the exercises that you can do to kind of locate your diaphragm area, take this off real quick, I call it the ha exercise, or you can call it like the Santa Claus exercise, because he belly laughs. So you just want to put your hands on your stomach and go huh, 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 huh. So you can kind of see my movement in my body there, because I am using all of those muscles down here to breathe deeply. Well, not in that instance, breathe, but I'm using these muscles where you need to breathe. So if you want to make sure you're breathing from the right place, you can put your hands on your stomach and breathe. And if your stomach moves at all, now it's kind of hard to see on the video and because my shirt's all billowy, but if you breathe deep enough, your stomach will actually expand, because your lungs kind of go all the way down to here. If you feel your rib cage, that your rib cage is protecting your lungs. So you got big lungs, and they go all the way down here, and so it's going to make all of this expand as well. So you want to make sure you're breathing deeply and completely, is another way to put it, so that you are getting enough air to finish all of your sentences. Breathing is also just good for your body, because your body needs the oxygen, and it'll help it relax a little bit. Don't rush either. So the second thing is staying physically relaxed. So muscle memory is a real thing. When you do something all the time, your body starts to retain that information. If you're constantly standing like this, and with your feet, kind of out or whatever, and you're scared or you're slumping, your body's going to automatically go to that stance whenever you go to speak. If you start giving your body good things to remember by standing, with your shoulders straight, rolling your shoulders back and relaxing, taking a deep breath, then your body will know this is what we need to do to speak. You can hold a lot of tension in your shoulders, your neck, your upper arms, and even in your hands, because if you're standing here and you're tense and your shoulders are up, it's going to pull all across your back, it's going to be hard on your neck, it's going to hurt your hands and all, even like your forearms, because you're clenching. So you don't want to do any of that. You don't want to hurt your body. So a couple of things. You never want to practice while you're lying down. You always want to practice your speech standing up or while you're doing something else. And now that may seem kind of counterproductive, but if you can train your body to speak while you're doing something else as well, it kind of helps you to multitask. So you're going to be a little bit better at taking whatever life throws at you, those kinds of things. And standing up is just going to help your body remember your speech while you're standing. If you practice lying down, sitting down, and then you come to school and to try to do it standing up, I always just call it falling out of your butt, because you're going to stand up from your seat and your whole speech is going to go onto the floor, because your body's not used to that and you're going to forget pieces of it. Take note of what you feel like when you're relaxed. So stand up. You don't have to do it right this second, but stand up later. Roll your shoulders back. Get your deep breath in there. And just kind of think about what this feels like. That's what you need to go for. That's your goal in speaking, is your relaxed stance. You don't want to relax so much that you're, slumped over and have your hip out or anything. But just a straight, relaxing stance. Stretching can also help if you're someone that gets really tense before you speak. You may want to, not like calisthenic stretch, like you have to go across your head or whatever, but when you get up, if you want to do a couple of these and just sort of pull your shoulders around to loosen them up, kind of roll your shoulders back, those kinds of things can really help you. Eating carefully is the third one, and it's something that you wouldn't really think of. But if you're someone especially that has a sensitive stomach, eating carefully can really help you not get those queasy feelings because of the stomach acid that we talked about earlier. So if your body is really producing a lot of that yucky stuff and it's mixing with something weird that you ate, I don't like throwing up, so don't throw up in here. I know you're at home, but I don't want you to throw up at your home either. If you do end up coming next 9 weeks, just know if you gotta puke, get out. Don't even say anything to me. Just run. We got lots of places outside where you can do that. Not in here. So you can get stomach cramps regularly. So be aware of spicy foods. Don't eat anything. Don't eat that spicy breakfast burrito before you come in here. Dairy can cause a lot of phlegm in your throat, which is kind of nasty to talk about, but if you're someone that's just sensitive to this kind of stuff, you don't want to do that. Caffeine can also affect you, so don't, chug a huge Red Bull before you have to give your speech. I was in the convenience store the other day. I saw one that was like this big. Biggest Red Bull I've ever seen in my life. You don't need all that. If you really need one, get the little bitty one and then drink it really early on so it has time to sort of fizzle. That's what I do. Drinking water is definitely something that you need to do. Water is the best thing you can drink, which is why I've got mine right here and my trusty cough drops. Water is going to be what your body needs, and most of us don't drink enough water unless we're really on that health kick and we got our big jug with our times on it. So just be aware of how much water you're drinking. If your throat feels dry or scratchy, water is going to be what fixes it. If it's really bothering you, warm water with salt in it. Just gargle it and spit it out, and you can do that multiple times. It's really nasty, but the salt will kind of get in here and clear out a lot of the gunk. Don't drink it, it's not good to drink, but gargling it a couple of times. I wouldn't recommend like super hot water because that's gonna like burn your throat, but if you get to the hot point, the warmer it is, the more relaxed your throat will be because it's literally muscles. So warm relaxes our muscles a little bit. So warm water with, I put a lot of salt in there. I've also heard lemon juice is good, apple cider vinegar, stuff like that can all help you out. The next thing is maintaining a positive attitude. That is so important because if you're so down on yourself and you're like, I'm not going to do very good, you're going to psych yourself out. I don't want you to be up here with, I'm the best, I'm going to beat everybody in the speech class, my speech is going to be so much better, I'm so prepared, because then you're still going to psych yourself out and you're not going to try as hard. But I don't want you to be down at the bottom either and say, I'm never going to do good, I can't do this, I can't get into public speaking, that kind of thing, because then you're just going to doubt yourself forever. Where you should be is in the solid middle where you say, I'm confident, I'm comfortable, I know that I've written a good speech, and I know that I've done everything that I can do to make this speech good. So that's kind of the middle ground where you should be feeling positive about it. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself, of course. That's what JFK said, and it's kind of true. So you want to ask yourself, why are you frightened of this whole thing? What makes it so scary for you? Are you afraid people are going to laugh at you? Because if you're really worried about that, 9 times out of 10, the audience is totally going to get where you're coming from. Especially in a class like this, if you trip and fall down, I would say that most of the people in the classroom are going to rush to help you, not laugh at you. Unless they're like your best friend and he's like, ah, you're a doofus, you fell down. But really, then is it going to hurt your feelings that much? You're probably going to be like, oh, I hate you. But if you stutter, if you drop your note cards, if you mispronounce a word, those kinds of things, the audience gets it. They're going to have to do it too in this class, so don't feel pressured there. The oral presentation is the best way for you to demonstrate your knowledge on a subject, and that's why we use oral presentations. Papers are good and all, but papers are not a true test of what you know, because too many people can just go and copy and paste. And also some people's writing skills are not great, just like some people's speaking skills are not great. But when you communicate word to word with another human being, we get it a little bit better. Just in general, we like to see face to face, and we like to get that communication back and forth. An audience will also enjoy someone that looks like they are enjoying themselves. We don't want to watch somebody that's up here like, it makes us very uncomfortable to watch someone that's uncomfortable, right? Because if you know that they're nervous, you're going to not look at them. And then that's in turn going to probably make them more nervous because no one's paying attention to them. It's like when someone's crying and you don't know what to do and you're just kind of like, what do I do? Do I say something? Do I try to make it better, or do I just let it alone? It's kind of the same feeling. It's just awkward. And so I don't want you to be up here like, look at me, I'm the best. But I want you to know what you're doing and feel confident in that. Like me, I don't care if I look like a goober on your video. I'm just trying to teach you the stuff. You can laugh at it all you want. You can show your friends that Miss Hoffman looks like a dork. That's cool. Doesn't bother me at all. I'm doing this because I want you to know what it is. I want you to be a better public speaker than I am. So everyone wants I say my children. All parents want their children to be better than them, right? So this is what I'm trying to do. The last thing in this section is preparing thoroughly. If you don't practice, no matter how good of a speaker you are, it's not going to be the best that you can do. You may be able to wing it, but you're still going to throw some ums in there. You're still going to stutter and try to remember some stuff on the way. So preparing is a really good way to feel comfortable and confident. Practice with your family and friends, people that you know you can be comfortable with, you can mess up in front of, and they're not going to judge you. You definitely want to practice for time as well, because time is really important in this class. We don't have a good sense of time as people, so we want to practice that so we know when we go out into the real world and someone says, I have 1 hour for your presentation, you know how much information you can fit in that hour, you know generally how long that hour feels. You don't want to waste anyone's time. So we're good at large amounts of time for the most part, we're not very good at small amounts of time. If I asked you to just sit in silence without a watch, without a clock, and try to count up a minute, you would probably not be right. Just because we don't really know how long a second is. We can say 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, but I'm looking at my clock right now that blinks for every second, and I was way off. Like I wasn't looking at it, and then I looked. It's going bump, 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 bump. So even then I can't really predict when it's going to come, even though I'm pretty good at rhythm. I kind of got to get into the groove, and even then I can get off if I'm not looking at it. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, like the lights blink on the clock, you know, like the little dots blink whenever the seconds are going by, so that's what I'm looking at. So, boop, 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 be yourself. It's from Aladdin. The other thing it says is look in the mirror to make sure, mirror? Again, Miss Hoffman can't talk sometimes. Look in the mirror to make sure that you are doing things that you're not doing things that are distracting. Like right now I have my phone looking at myself and I keep cringing because I'm just doing all sorts of crazy hand movements. But whenever you are doing your speech, you want to make sure that you're not blocking your face, that you're not playing with your hair like I am right now, and that you're not flapping your legs and moving your arms all around. Again, not doing a great job of being an example right now because I'm just sort of conveying the information to you in the most comfortable way. The next section is called 10 Common Errors to Avoid. Still in chapter 1, but I promise it is almost over, and then we'll move on to chapter 2. So the first thing is an inappropriate or distracting visual presence. First impressions are very important. You want to make sure that people see you and they immediately equate you with a really cool dude. We're a very judgmental group as humans. It's not great, and I'm not saying that you personally are judgmental, it's just in general, if you imagine, you know, you're in the car with your mom, your friends, whoever, and you look out the window and you see someone walking down the street in some ratty clothes with one shoe on and, you know, a hole in their pants and their shirt's all stained, your immediate opinion of them is probably not very high. Your immediate assumption might be that maybe they're homeless, or, you know, maybe they're hurt. You know, did they just get into an accident because they look kind of crazy? And that person may be a billionaire. They may be the nicest person in the world, but you wouldn't know that just from seeing them. So what we have to really focus on is kind of showing our true colors right in the beginning. It takes 7 seconds for somebody to build a first impression of you, which is not a long time. And I hope that I've made a good first impression today and in my first video. Again, that doesn't mean that people's opinions can't change of you or anything like that, but especially another good example is me. As a woman, I'm not very tall. I don't know if you can tell or if you've seen me before, some of you upperclassmen. I'm about 5'1". I'm a small person. When I'm in a parking lot, let's say I went to the mall, it's like 8:30, I'm leaving the mall, it's dark outside. If I'm by myself and I realize there is a tall man walking behind me with a hoodie on, covering his face, my immediate adrenaline fight or flight response starts kind of pinging, going, you need to be careful, there's somebody behind you. that person, again, may be the nicest person in the world. Maybe it's a man that has a wife and 4 kids and they've been married for 25 years. I don't know. You know, it's just in the back of my mind, we've kind of been trained on certain things of especially, like I said, women being like, oh no, you're alone and there's a man that's behind you. It's scary. We, see on TV people dressed a certain way come off as a homeless person or a bad guy, that kind of thing. You see, just a dude walking around or even a woman walking around in, clothes where you can't see their face and they're kind of bundled up and it looks like maybe they're hiding something. You might think, oh, they're shoplifting, or we just form automatic opinions that don't really have any basis, but it's just from what our culture has told us. So we have to try to fight those things, and we got to try to be the best that we can be immediately so that people don't form a negative impression of us, which again, it's not a wonderful thing, but it is something that happens, especially in the workforce. So you want to dress nicely. My dressing rules for you are normally to have a brightly colored top and a neutral colored bottom. Neutral meaning white, black, gray, navy, khaki, something like that. Because you want most of the focus to be up here on your face. Something that we do nowadays is have really colorful pants, which is cool in passing, but if you went into a job interview and you had on a gray top and bright pink pants, the attention's going down to your pants, not up at your face. Patterns tend to be good up top too and not on the bottom. You don't want to have pattern, especially when they're different. If you watch The Office, look at Andy Bernard for his fashion choices. Not great. He looks like he is, like Easter threw up on him, I think is the joke that somebody makes. I do have pastel colors on here because pastel colors can be good, but again, a purple shirt is fine with some black pants or some gray pants, but you wouldn't want to do a bright purple shirt and some bright blue pants. That's a little bit too much. So one or the other, and you want to try to keep the focus up here. We also have a lot of patterned pants nowadays, so a solid top and some patterned bottoms, like especially for women, I don't think guys have it as much, would be okay if the color up top is something that is still going to draw the eye up to your face. No hats, no facial piercings, anything distracting on the face. Story time. My aunt works for the visitor center in Beaumont. She said one time somebody came in to interview that still had all like 7, 8 of their facial piercings in to work as a front desk person for the visitor center. And she said, she couldn't hire them because, again, with those negative kind of stereotype first impressions that we get, the first thing that you see when you drive into Texas and you go to the front desk is someone with like 3 nose rings and a couple eyebrow rings and some lip rings and a lip piercing. Doesn't necessarily look good. And again, I'm not saying that is not something that's a bad thing. Like, I don't care what you got on your face, but whenever you are being a professional in an industry like that, it tends to be more towards the generic person look. So somebody without face piercings, with just 2 ear piercings if you're a woman, conservative jewelry, dress, those kinds of things. You don't want to have any slogans on your clothing, especially nothing that is vulgar or super distracting. Big brand names, you wouldn't go into a job interview with big Nike across your shirt or something like that. No dangling jewelry for women, and humongous earrings, big chunky necklaces, lots of bangles. Those can be loud and distracting and just, bright and glaring off of things. So you just want to keep it simple. You ever heard of KISS? Keep it simple, stupid. And Michael Scott says, hurts my feelings every time. Or no, Dwight says that maybe. Another Office reference if you're an Office fan. We call it visual noise. I don't know if I just said that, but it's something that distracts your eyes. It's taking away from you as a person. The second thing is awkward or imbalanced stance, which I'm doing a lot of right now, where I'm just kind of wiggling around. It can become very distracting, so I'm sorry if I'm distracting you. But what we need to practice is called the square stance. So, you want to put your feet facing forward. They're going to be in line with your knees, and your knees are going to be in line with your shoulders. It feels weird because normally our feet go out to the side, or if you're pigeon-toed, your feet go in. Mine, if I'm just going to stand normally, mine go out. So when you come in a little bit, it kind of keeps you from shifting around. When you're out, your knees have free bending range, and you can sway back and forth as much as you want. You can set your weight on one foot and not the other foot, and it's very easy. But when they're facing forward, you kind of are limiting the range of your knees. It's still comfortable, but you really have to try. You have to actually physically move your butt to move around, and it will bring it to the forefront of your mind, because you can't just do it without thinking about it. So practice this. Again, we call this the square stance, or a neutral position. A neutral position also includes your arms down by your side. You of course want to bend your knees a little bit so that you're not locking them, because if you lock your knees, you can get blood clots and bad stuff and pass out. So don't do that. So bend your knees, be comfortable, square stance. We shift as a society because we don't stand that way. If you try to stand with your legs out and then try to balance your weight between your two legs, it's weird, and you kind of get like a ballet thing going on where you've got your knees bent and out. We shift because we tend to put all of our weight on one foot, and then we switch to the other foot. So we sway, we step back and forth. But like I said, with this square stance, your weight kind of gets put on both legs automatically. Pardon me. And you'll notice the immediate change whenever I do it, because I can't anymore. I can't shift back and forth. So practice this in the mirror, and it becomes more comfortable the more that you do it. It's very strange when you first start. Then the third thing is closed gestures. So I make a lot of gestures. I'm kind of all over the place. Closed gestures are something that's blocking you from the audience. So crossing your arms over your chest, keeping your hands here. I call this one the potty stance, because it looks like you got to go to the bathroom. Those kinds of things happening in front of the body are going to be closed off. It's closing you off from the audience. This is a common one because it kind of draws us into ourselves. It makes us feel more secure, even though there's no real barrier over there. It's sort of creating this make-believe barrier, and it kind of makes you feel secure. Let's see. This also shows nervousness, or this shows an unwillingness to be open to the audience. Anger, we associate crossing our arms with anger or not caring. So you want to make sure that your face and body are both communicating that you want to be there and that you're open to the audience's reactions. That's something that I run into a lot in here, is that people will go, I was so excited, I couldn't wait to go to Disney World. But their face will say, please, just get me out of here as soon as possible. I would like to die. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why do you look like that? Are you being sarcastic? Because really, their face will not change. It's just like, yes, this class is so exciting. I don't know if you could see me this far away. But then I will also get the inverse, which is, I really wanted to go to Disneyland. It was so great. I had a great time. I'm so happy right now. And it makes you look like you're crazy because you're smiling, but your voice sounds dead inside. So don't do either of those. Your face, your voice, your body should all be making the same emotion. That's especially confusing when the body's in there, because then you're like, yeah, it was really great. I had a great time. But your body is saying absolutely not. Or if you're like, it was really wonderful. It was great. It was amazing. We hate that. So don't do that. Openness is inviting, and then have psychological insecurities show in your physical form. So one of the things that a lot of people do is play with their hair, or if they have a necklace, or playing with their necklace. It can get really distracting. So it's something that you want to look for in the mirror to make sure that you are not doing as a distraction to everyone else. I'm going to try to keep going through this because it's almost time for my class. Over-reliance on notes, eye contact, is very important. If you're not connecting to the audience through their eyes, then they're not going to connect to you. It's a two-way street. Eyes are the window to the soul, so you really got to make sure, well, for you guys, it's kind of easy. You're just looking at the camera. It's not very scary. But if you're in person with, the audience, let's say that you were looking at the ground the entire time, or if I taught this entire video looking down here, it's kind of weird, and I feel weird because I'm like looking at myself here, so I'm at least talking to a human that I can see on the screen, and so I'm kind of presenting to myself, but it's weird. But if I was also like looking over here, it's not a thing, class isn't until 10:10. Sorry about that. It will lower your effectiveness. You have to generally know what will come next because there is a certain degree of memorization to speeches, because if you were constantly like back and forth and back and forth.
Well, as you can all tell, I'm working on the bells, and so I have them on, but that is not the right time, so please do not leave class. Hopefully I'll have it done by 10:10.
Okay. If you don't do eye contact at all, then it's super strange, and the people in the audience aren't going to care as much. Also, don't stare at people if you ever get here into class. There was one time, and I teach drama again, there was one time a kid was doing a monologue. I'm going to get real close so you can see the intensity of this. And the monologue was really dramatic, and he looked into my eyes, and he was like, "You're the one that killed my mom." And I was like, I did not. Please don't look at me like that. So if you really need to look at people, you can look at their foreheads and things like that. But don't stare at one person, because that's happened too. They just tend to stare at the person in the first row, and they do their entire speech to that person, and it gets very uncomfortable for them. So please look evenly around the room. We talked about time requirements. It kind of takes away rambling or exceeding the time limit. If it's too short, it's not developed very well, so that can kind of affect your speech as well. I'm just going to keep moseying on through. Hiding behind the podium, you can kind of see this. I'm already short enough, but if I'm going to squat or try to hide or use it to cover me, it's just not going to be as effective. It's not a life raft I have here in your notes. And it's something that is a tool. It is not something that you have to use. You just put your note cards here and use it to support and hold those. Let's see. You don't really want to travel too much in your speeches. You want to stay in generally one place. I kind of go between here and here. I'm doing this so you can see my whole body, but mostly I teach behind my podium. Mispronunciations is just a matter of practicing. You want to make sure you're not, saying, you want to know what you're saying. You don't want to say things incorrectly because it'll trip you up. General disfluencies, see, there we go, are the ums, the uhs, the weird pauses that you might have to take to think, lapses in memory, those kinds of things. They happen, it's human nature, guys, but if you go I want to go to be store gets very, very repetitive. Same thing with like. I wanted to go to be store and I wanted to that drives me absolutely crazy. Please don't do that. Record yourself and listen to it on your phone. That'll help you identify whether you're saying it. I said here, Judge Judy will get you, because my husband watches a lot of Judge Judy, and if they say she'll go, is not a word. So don't do that. I'm not going to count off a point for every time you say but if you do start repeating it over and over and over again, I might start marking down how many times you said it. The last thing on there is and. And can be really bad when you start linking your sentences together. So I was going to the store, and then I wanted to go home, and then when I was home, I decided to take a nap, and then after I took my nap, I wanted to plan my vacation, and once I planned my vacation, it just seems like one long run-on sentence. So don't just use and to plug in the middle of everything. Use complete sentences into them and start a new sentence. Last thing is unforeseen circumstances. Now that's going to happen. Something is going to go wrong. You're not going to be able to upload your video on time, and it's cool. You just have to be kind of prepared for that. Just like when I was teaching, and the bell went off, and Miss Payton went over the announcements. It happens. I'm in here in my room. It's a school day. We're about to go to BLA, but I just kind of kept going anyway. You just have to adjust to when stuff happens. And then practice. Practice, of course, that is the most important thing that you can do, because if you don't practice, then you're not going to be confident. Okay, chapter 2 is pretty easy. It's all about the communication process, and since I only have a couple minutes, I'm going to hit the main points. If you read the chapter and you go over my notes and kind of, figure out where I put them in there, for the most part, you're going to understand it completely. I'm just sort of over-explaining it. The basic model of communication here is a really important thing that you need to know. It is on page 10. It's a very easy diagram to follow. A speaker or a source has a message that they are sending through channels, which would be your speech, to a receiver or the audience. So if you imagine like a little airplane coming out of my mouth and going into your ear, my channels technically right now would be this video, my message is my lesson, you are the receiver, I am the source. Then underneath, or on top first, I've got nonverbal information. That's everything that I am telling you with my body that I am not physically saying to you. And then feedback is the same thing, but the other way. I'm not really going to get any feedback from you live because I'm not doing these videos live, but I get it from the kids in class. If you're yawning or if they're not paying attention, that is negative feedback showing that they're not paying attention to me or that they're not interested. If I've got my arms crossed while I'm talking, that's nonverbal information to you showing you that I'm not into it. So that is the main thing that you need to look at in this chapter. It kind of explains what each thing is on the bottom of the page and on the top of the next page, or the whole next page, sorry. Something else is the purpose. So you want to know the why of your speech, which is very easy because I give it to you. Your speech is an informative speech, the purpose is to inform. A persuasive speech, the purpose is to persuade. Demonstrative speech is to demonstrate, and special or entertainment speech is to entertain. I also call it a special occasion speech, but that's not a to verb, so it doesn't work out as well. So you select your topic, but again, I'm going to sort of help you select your topic by giving you the general thing that you need to do. So you don't have to worry as much about that, but there are some questions that will help you determine what it is. Outlining your speech, he kind of goes through, he says, think of a speech as an oral essay. Every well-structured and well-written essay begins with an outline. It's more than just a skeleton, you kind of have to flesh it out a little bit. And it gives you the three major purposes of the outline there. I give you kind of an example, and don't worry, we're going to talk about outlines way in detail in just a couple weeks. Actually, not next week, but the week after that. We're going to go over how to write a speech, which is why I'm just kind of hitting these main points, because when you read the very short chapter, it'll explain everything there. Important rules, there can never be an A without a B in an outline, so if you look at my little subplots here, I have a big Roman numeral, and then I've got an A, and then I have a sub area B. I have a 1 and a 2, so I couldn't have an A without a B, and I couldn't have a 1 without a 2. So those are important to know. That's just outline rules and how they work. Our first initial outline is little bullet point notes. Then you put it into a rough draft, and then you're going to deconstruct your rough draft back into this kind of an outline that helps you to do your speech. This is why I give this to you, number one, so you can take notes next to it if you need to, but number two, to kind of demonstrate what a solid outline looks like. And then you can use the bibliography section of chapter 2 for your own info. I don't go over it. And the last section is about avoiding plagiarism. So there's intentional plagiarism, which means you did it on purpose, and unintentional plagiarism, which means that you thought of something that you thought was an original idea and it wasn't, or you just didn't quote the original person, or something like that. Doesn't mean you didn't intend to do it, but you did it. So be careful with that. The last thing on here are a couple of funny videos if you want to watch them. The first one is pitching to women, and I give you a little synopsis on my website. It's active listening, which means, when you're an audience member, you want to be paying attention and things like that. And if you're not, then the speaker's not getting really good feedback from you. So that one's just funny. It just shows them trying to teach Dwight how to be a good active listener. And then the other one is Kevin's small talk again from The Office. He's just not using the words that he needs to have a very condensed conversation, by using less words, and it doesn't work. It makes it harder for him to communicate. So again, just kind of another little funny thing for you there. So your homework is to do chapter 1 and 2 questions, and I make it very easy for you. If you look on the end of each question right here, it tells you what page and what chapter. So I put 1 and 2 questions together, so you'll see that on, I think it's 16 here, it looks like we go to chapter 2. So 1 through 15 is through chapter 1, and then the rest are chapter 2. Pretty easy peasy. Important things are that basic model of communication, and chapter 1 is the bulk of it. Chapter 2 is just kind of some necessary information. So I hope this helped. Let's see, questions will be due Tuesday after the weekend for homework. So I hope you're all doing okay at home. This class is going to be great. I enjoy lecturing for you guys. I'm sorry it took 45 minutes, but I tried to get through it as fast as I could. Feel free to break this up into sections and listen to it, randomly. I'm okay with that. So anyway, turn in your homework, turn in your syllabus, make sure you get a book, and hopefully I can see you all soon. Bye.